Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Richard Skipper celebrates the best in entertainment. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. What are you celebrating today? For those of you who are here for the first time, my show is all about celebrating life, celebrating art, celebrating artists, and I do believe that there's a lot to celebrate if we only take the time to do so. And especially now in these dark times, it's more important now more than ever that we do take the time to celebrate wherever we can. A few weeks ago, my dear Facebook friend, Barbara Rue, reached out to me and she told me all about this gentleman, Chris Allport. She said, you have to have him on the show. And as I started researching him and seeing all that he's done, it's amazing that this man has what he has created in his life, and his life is all about celebrating. He has been a part of almost every end of show business. And before we delve into your career, happy holidays, first of all, Chris. And I want to ask, in addition to the holidays right now, and this amazing new movie that we're going to talk about, what are you celebrating today?
Well, I think that we're celebrating being alive right now. I think, very fortunate to have made it, through a lot of these dark times that we have been living in. And it's important to me to bring lightness to everybody out there. That's the mission of my life.
Well, let me ask you, that's a very interesting point that you bring up. What motivates you and what keeps you going? I mean, you've been in this business your entire life. Yes. And for someone who came into this business later on, even though it was something I always aspired to, you can become very jaded in this business. Mm-hmm. What keeps you motivated, first of all? And what is it about this business that keeps you going?
What keeps me motivated is that I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. And I've found a way in the business to create what's important to me, to earn a living. I'm not trying to get rich. I'm trying to earn a living, and to manage the goals and expectations, to create achievable goals. And I think that's one of the big things that makes it the entertainment industry realistic for me is I'm not trying to be, some huge big thing. I'm trying to do what it is that I can do, and I like that. Mm-hmm. I think that that's a good strategy for success.
Well, it's interesting, Chris. I mean, if you've had a chance to see any of my previous shows, one of the things that I always do is I always ask everyone to go back and look at their 5-year-old selves. And I do this because I always say that the 5-year-old self, for me, is the purest self, because that's the self for most people. And I say for most people for a reason here. And I want you to go back for just a moment, because one of my favorite films is Over Your Shoulder, Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961, year I was born. So, and I have to tell you something. My grandmother, Moon River was our song. And so there's a symbol there that my grandmother is watching above.
River wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday.
Thank you
And that, of
so much.
course, was written by the brilliant Hank Mancini and his wife Ginny, who sadly passed away, last month. And we offer our condolences to Felice and Monica and their family. And I think Mancini's had a big influence over our development, my sisters and my development growing up as children in Hollywood. We both had the opportunity to work with him pretty early on. Yeah. And
well, he was there, and then I saw that, and I went, "Wow, I have to acknowledge this," because that film is such an important part of my life. Like I said, it was the year I was born, 1961. You also worked another masterpiece from '61 was West Side Story,
absolutely.
And the new West Side Story just came out this week. And you've also worked with Spielberg.
Yes, and regarding that Breakfast at Tiffany's poster, which of course is written up there in Italian, Colazione di Tiffany, my dear friend and fellow filmmaker Rebecca Davis gave that to me when she knew that I had traveled to Italy, and she found that Italian poster of it. And so big shout out to Rebecca Davis, who's doing some really great screenwriting now. So shout out to her.
Well, as I was saying, I always go back to the 5-year-old self, because to me, the 5-year-old self is the pure self, because, going back to when one starts school and teachers start telling you who you should be or who you should not be.
Yeah.
But for you, you were already a seasoned pro in the business. And here you are. And obviously, Chris, you have not changed a bit. You look exactly the same. I want you to tell us a little bit about this little boy here. And how did you or your family find your way into this business at such an early age?
Well, it's kind of a multi-pronged story, and it starts with being in the right place at the right time with the right skill set and the right mom, who was able to shepherd me safely through what could be a potentially dangerous business. Mm-hmm. But that little boy that you just saw there is still very much me. It's very real. I mean, the only difference is now I'm much more of a fighter now than I was then, mm-hmm. because I realize you have to fight for what you want. But that composite, that was my very first, sort of professional headshot session. It still defines what I'm striving for, and then I want to make people happy. And sometimes you have to, and I want to bring peace, but sometimes you have to fight for peace. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just come. So, but it started. I was, my mom was a concert pianist protege when she was growing up, and her parents didn't really know that you could make a career out of such things, so she didn't have the guidance to shift into a professional performance career as an adult. So, when I came along, she started teaching me music very early. I mean, I remember being 6-7 months old, lying underneath the piano, the grand piano. She would be playing Malagueña and Chopin and Rachmaninoff concertos. And I remember feeling the vibrations of the piano and grabbing onto the rungs of the pedals. That really, to feel the vibrations in my body. So that music, and then she started teaching me something that I could identify with, which was at that time the musical Annie was popular, and just coming to Broadway. And so, I could sing all the songs. And for my 3rd birthday, my parents took me to see Annie at the Pantages in Hollywood. And I remember my mom saying, "Christopher, you can't sing along. You just have to shut up. I said, okay, okay. And we were 6 rows or back orchestra center, in the best seats in the house. And
Mhm.
but by the time the second act came along and Miss Hannigan was just laying into those poor girls, those orphans, and this sense of injustice arose within me. And I couldn't shut up any longer. And I didn't sing along. I just stood up and I yelled, "Shut up, Miss Hannigan."
Wow, good for you.
And I brought down the house.
Good for
So
you.
So at the age of, on my 3rd birthday, like the entire Pantages is clapping for me, and the performers on stage are having to wait, for
There
the
was a show that was just recently on Broadway called Chicken and Biscuits. And Norm Lewis is, the star of the show. And he's up there as a preacher, doing a sermon. And he said, do I hear an amen from the audience? And this little boy in the audience one, I just heard screaming, amen, amen,
yeah,
amen. And he stopped the show. And that's the magic of theater right there. So
because
God bless you that she touched you on a level. Now, obviously, I mean, we saw the photographs. You were a cute kid. When did they realize that in addition to the cuteness, that there was the talent that went along with the cuteness?
well, there was a dark side that came along, but to identify that, there's a very dark side. A year after that Annie thing, I was 4 and I was singing in this Japanese piano bar, like singing the Japanese sakura in Japanese and the American America the Beautiful. They stood me on top of a grand piano, and that was great. And I remember doing that, and people liked it, and I got noticed and stuff. But then I went to in 1st grade, and I was pretty advanced student for my age. I was a little bit ahead in 1st grade when I was 6. That really offended a teacher that I had, the 1st grade teacher. And she was physically and emotionally and verbally abusive.
Wow.
She would lock me in closets. She would twist my ear and drag me around the room. And it was dark. And I didn't understand why that was happening. And so I
Were
didn't.
you telling people that this was happening to
No,
you?
no, because I thought I was being punished for something that I did that was wrong, that I was a bad child.
I'm so sorry.
And I didn't know. I didn't understand what was happening. But fortunately, my pediatrician, who is now a good friend today, she put some pieces of the puzzle together and figured out what was going on and got me to a appropriate psychologist for gifted and talented children. And the thing is, what my parents learned then and what I know now is that, yeah, having these gifts is amazing, but there's a price to pay for it too.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like on a spectrum. You have special needs kids on one side and gifted kids on the other side, and all of the educational system is sort of like set for the middle of the road. So it's very easy for gifted kids to not get the support they need, just as it is for special needs kids to not get the support that they need,
But
because
Christopher,
they're outside of the range of normalcy.
but don't you feel that our entire educational system is built upon a premise that all kids are taught as a unit instead of individually? And I think that that is something I understand, and God bless our teachers because they are underpaid, overworked, overstressed, and especially in today's world and things that are going on today, I can't even imagine what it is like to be a teacher. And I know
The system is broken.
the system is completely broken, but the individualism, and that's why I even mentioned in my opening remarks, that teachers start telling kids who they should or should not be, because kids are treated across the boards as a unit instead of individuals, and that's a problem. But there are two things that I want to ask about this abusive situation that you were going through. Number one, how long did the abuse go on? And number two, was this jealousy because of the talents that you had? Was she trying to squash your abilities and your
it must have been. It went on probably for almost full school year,
Wow.
almost. And was she jealous? I would imagine. I can remember her face, and she was so cruel looking. I mean, it was just a tortured person, probably. And but the good thing that came out of that was that I went to a different school. I had the right help. I had the right guidance. And then I had a teacher who celebrated my individuality for the next year. Eleanor Vonderay was the one who told my mom, this boy needs to be in acting classes. And she gave me, she turned the little second grade choir over to me, and I was up there bossing the kids around. And I'm like, no, this is how it's going to be sung. And so I started music directing, then at the age of 6 or 7, and then that's when the agents came along, and so it was out of that darkness that then came this light, and my mission to make sure that individuals, particularly children, in wherever I have the ability to interact with them, that they have a voice.
Mm-hmm. Well, God bless you for that. But parents are given such a bad rap in this business with children, and some of them deservedly so. But in your case, for example, how involved was your mom and your dad in terms of your career? Agents, managers, when they see a child with talent, they start to mold. Even as an adult, I've had my fair share of so-called agents, managers, producers, and I put them in air quotes when I say that. How protective was your mom, and how involved was she in terms of being there to protect you and against those things happening in your career?
She was like a mother bear, and at first she was reticent to even get involved with all this, and then my grandfather said, well, let's go to the agent now, we'll make sure that it's on up and up. And it turned out it was,
Mm-hmm.
my first agent was the top kids agent in the country, and Bob Preston and Evelyn Schultz,
Mm-hmm.
CED, which is now CESD, they took me in and were willing. My mom, there's certain things she didn't want me to do, there's certain things I didn't want to do, and I had a say in it, and we were allowed to pick what we wanted to do. But
That's good.
I learned later on that there were letters that had come in when I was a kid that were completely inappropriate, fan letters that had come in, describing things that no 10 or 11-year-old should be. But my mom had intercepted the letters, and I didn't find out about them until I was 18 or 19 years old.
That's good.
So but yeah, there was a lot of you could see how somebody in exchange for the possibility of fame or fortune or money, how could be sold down the line very quickly. I mean, I know who those people were that were trying to be inappropriately involved. They tried to, but my mom kept them away, and as I grew older, I had the skills to keep them away myself. But a lot of my friends didn't actually get through without significant harm.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my friends didn't even make it. They're not with us today, because of the emotional scars that were left.
Very sad,
Yeah.
and But how long did it take before the opportunities started happening and the breaks that came with those opportunities?
Mhm. Fairly quickly. I mean, I started, with the agents sent me on modeling jobs as an, entry thing. And, so the first color photo ever printed in the Daily News was me,
Hmm.
holding a bunch of corn in the food section. And then that led to, that I could follow direction. So other photographers hired me. And one of those photographers, his name is Jay Silverman, and he's
Mm.
was an ad, you know, he did a lot of commercial stuff. So he hired me um, to do some, print modeling that went into commercials, and then, on camera work, and then that turned into voiceover work. And the voiceover work is what ended up becoming very lucrative um, fairly quickly. And the skill set for that was that I could cold read very quickly and follow direction and create a character while I'm cold reading. So that translated to me being the voice of Casper the Ghost in the 1990s, and then onto the original Fox Kids series, Peter Pan and the Pirates, where I played Toodles, the Lost Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there was an abuse story that came along in with that. My character is animated with a black eye throughout the entire 65 episodes. Tim Curry played Captain Hook, and that was really great to work with him
Mm-hmm.
on all 65 episodes. But my character was animated with a black eye because I had gotten beaten up at school on the day that I went in for the fourth callback. And I was 11 years old, very small, and I had a teacher once again. So I had a lot of amazing teachers, but there was a few that I can remember, like the first grade one was just not a good person. And I had a
Mm.
teacher like that in the seventh grade who said to me when I came back from working on Casper, she said in front of the whole class, "How much money did you earn yesterday, Chris? Well, the rest of us had to be here in class."
Oh my God.
Because it's in front of the class. I didn't know how much money I was making. I wasn't doing it for money. Like, that wasn't the point. Um, and so there was a massive amount of jealousy that was going around. And the thing is, I still had to do school. I did school at the studio with a studio teacher, and I was doing all of the work and bringing it home. So, at that point, my dad got more involved with, dealing with the school stuff, and the school was completely unwilling to work with him. And so we left again, and we found a really cool little private school called Princeton College Preparatory. And one of my teachers from there, like, there was 3 teachers in the school and 30 kids. Like, it was really individual based. It was all about, what this kid needs in order to thrive. So I was very grateful for that, and I stayed at that school through my high school graduation.
I want to ask, as all young boys growing into a young adulthood, was it an easy transition for you as far as the voice changing and going through that period for you? And did that affect the work that you were getting at that time?
Surprisingly, I was still able to keep this sort of higher register that I could even do today. And so a lot of those characters, like, the reason I got hired is because I could still do those little boy characters, moving on.
Mhm.
And I was in voice lessons the whole time. So it really wasn't too much of an issue for me, because I was constantly doing vocal exercises to really utilize my entire range. And a lot of the character work that I did was up here. So yeah,
Well,
that was okay.
Well, I want to talk about today, because there are 2 projects that you've got currently happening right now. One, a Christmas project, and a new film. And I'm going to let you choose which one you want to talk about first, and then we'll build upon that. Which would you like to talk about?
Let's talk about Arise Awake, O Christmas.
Okay. And let's start. I have a trailer here. Let's watch the trailer, and then we'll talk about this on the other side.
Sure.
This is amazing. I just saw this just for the first time just a few moments ago. I know what I'm downloading after this.
Check it out on Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere you get your music.
It is absolutely glorious. Congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
is just so beautiful. And I love your message behind this. What was the inspiration behind this?
So it was 2014, and my mom had recently passed away, and I went to Italy to clear my head. And I'd had this great fortune of touring Italy and working with these incredible opera singers over there, including Simone Bertolaso, Michele Carboni, Domenica Zamora, and several people from Opera alla Scala and Opera Lorena. So we knew each other well, and I stayed over there for a while, and I realized I was going to write sort of a requiem piece for my mom that was orchestral and choral, but I couldn't make it dark for some reason. Like, what was coming out was that story of rebirth. So I tied it back to the original Christmas story based out of the books of Luke and Matthew in the Bible, but I also didn't want it to be so biblical because the Bible can be pretty divisive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very polarizing text. So I wanted to have the intent of the Christmas story without it being too on the nose. So what I'm trying to do is bridge the gap between sacred Christmas and secular Christmas, and making it about humanism.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the intent then with what became Arise, Awake, O Christmas Day, and its accompanying Lord's Prayer, which I wrote a second verse to, and then the Kyrie and the Alleluia. So that those pieces are able to bridge the gap between sacred and secular.
So you said that this, came out of your mother's passing, and you started working on this. Did you start working on this in 2014, or and it's taken you into this time now? Or
so I started working on it in 2014. It was recorded in 2016, and it has been available. But I'm, currently looking for more opportunities to expose it to more people, because when you put a new piece of music out there, there's an uphill battle on getting it, getting it known. I want that to be a known piece that choirs around the world will perform. So, we were very fortunate to record it with the Hollywood Chamber Orchestra.
Look at that. That's incredible.
Mark Robertson, the contractor, Jason Gamer was the music director, and Tim Davis, whose singers sing the off-camera singing for Glee, the show Glee. They're the ones whose voices are on that recording. So,
well, I mean, the business obviously is constantly evolving, and with the work that you do, has it gotten easier as you've gotten older in this business, or has it gotten more difficult, or is it just a constant evolution of how things are changing? COVID withstanding, because we're in a very unique position right now.
I'd say, Richard, all of the above, really. Parts of it have gotten easier, parts of it have got more difficult. The COVID creates many more dynamics that are difficult to navigate. But at the end of the day, if you stay focused on the creativity inside your heart, you always find a way. We are a resilient people.
Mm-hmm.
We are a resilient people, and that's what the message that I have to say to people during these darker times, that we're still Americans. We are still citizens of this world. Let us stand up and lead with who we are and with what it is that we have to bring to the table that is our best. Put our best foot forward. Edit out anything else that isn't the best. We all have dark sides and bright sides, but edit out what doesn't work.
I'm a very spiritual person. I'm and I'm going to say something very mystical. I mean, tonight is the full moon. It's the last full moon of 2021. It's the Gemini full moon, and it's about letting go of the negativity. It's letting go of all of those elements that are holding us back. And just imagine if everybody thought that way, and where we are, if we could just bring our very best to the table and edit out the absolute stuff that's holding us back.
That's what we have to do. I mean, COVID will pass, especially if we all do our part and get vaccinated and follow medical advice. It will pass. And we will look back on this the way I remember my grandmother looking back on the Great Depression. It's, the darkness we are working to eliminate the darkness in our leadership, political leadership. Get rid of the darkness. Focus on what works for the most majority of people, not what only works for one person.
Thank you.
This is all we have to do. What works for the majority of people, and instead of relying so much on our leaders to make decisions for us, let's make decisions ourselves. That's what a democracy is. We're able to lead with our voice.
Mm-hmm.
We're able to run for office.
Mm-hmm.
And
I heard something very interesting the other day. It seems now, and I have a few years on you, Chris, but it seems that in the world that we're living in right now, that we don't truly have as many leaders as we have representatives. And that's a unique way of looking at those people who are running for office. I mean, I remember a time where people ran for office because they truly wanted to make changes in the world. Mm-hmm. But we have so much obstruction, and that's true on everywhere. I'm not taking political sides when I say this, and it truly is. We have to really get rid of all this negativity that is out there. And
there's a cancer in the discourse, and that permeates through the political system, and people staking their entire career on one issue. We got a lot of issues that we have to face, and if we can focus our leadership on coming together and doing what's best for the many, as opposed to what's good for the few, is going to be our best focus. But it comes from us, we the people. That's how the Constitution starts. We the people,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To form a more perfect union. And I think if we keep focusing on the union and the collective us as individuals, and what each one of us can do locally to affect a broader thing globally, that's the best thing. And I have focused on that, doing that through my art, through my movies, through my music, and as well as statements, that I make, but the thing is to be civil. You don't have to agree with everybody, but you have to work with them.
When
I was on the board of directors of the Screen Actors Guild many years ago, that's what I learned. Like, you don't have to like everybody. You have to work with them.
Well, again, when I was in high school, we had a debate team.
Yeah.
And I loved being on the debate team. I loved hearing both sides of an equation. And we can't even have that in school anymore because, everybody, I had recently, if someone disagrees with you, their first inclination on social media, I'm talking about, is to block you.
Yeah.
Erase you.
And really, you need to listen to the other opinion. You might not agree with it, but you have to understand where they're coming from, even if it's flawed, even if you think it's flawed, because you might be able to understand better where they're coming from and retool. Maybe you have to retool your messaging if you want to get something, done a certain way. Maybe the other side is just not understanding where you're coming from, because ultimately we all want the same things.
I want to ask you, a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, actually, I interviewed Davis Gaines, incredible entertainer and actor. And we were talking, he said a very interesting thing about his career. And I've asked several people about this. He said, going into this business, you have an idea of where you want to go, what you want to do in this business, but it's very much like being in a pinball machine. Once you're in the throes of it, you're tossed about, and a lot of what happens in your career is based upon the people you meet, the circumstances, the things that happen in your career. I want to ask you, Chris, how ambitious are you in terms of how you map out your career? And how much of your career would you say is there? Obviously, you've got the talent. There's no denying that. And you've got the knowledge to know how to navigate the waters of this business. But how much would you say is because of what you've mapped out in your career? And how much would you say is because of the people and the circumstances that have been on the path in your career?
I would say 60% it's the people and the circumstances, 40% my mapping out. If I'm going to map out what I want to be doing when I'm 65, I want to be the director of the Kennedy Center Honors. Let's work backward from there. That's what I want. I want to direct shows that have great social impact and cultural relevance.
Now, where were you when I needed you there? I mean, I campaigned for years. Carol Channing was a dear friend of mine. And I really wanted her to get the Kennedy Center honor. I campaigned almost 20 years to get her that honor. And it landed on deaf ears year after year after year. And she did so much for arts and education, and I really felt that she deserved it. I want to ask you, why would that matter to you? To be the director of that. And I think it's a lofty goal, and I'm going to plant seeds that you get there.
And I mean that by that, the creative director, not like the, political, side of how it all works, but I just to stage the show and, direct the television production. But I don't know. That's one thing in my life that I don't know why I have that ambition, but I do. But working back from there has led me to direct all sorts of orchestral, the TV productions of orchestral things, including, I got to direct the TV production of John Williams' orchestral premiere of the Warhorse Suite at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, which premiered on PBS. And to do that with this incredible orchestra of the Young Musicians Foundation. They were all college-age musicians, and working with John and to present this music. Like, I have a certain vision of the way I think orchestras and arts components should be seen. And so I see, like, rather than just having a camera back here, like I had my cameras as like instruments in the orchestra, and so I sort of see things a little bit differently, and the way I like to combine my close-ups with my master shots and stuff, it creates like this very dynamic environment for audiences to be invited into. And that's what I want people to come into my world and see it the way that I see it, because it's so vivid and so powerful. And I want to evoke emotion that way.
Now, you mentioned, I did mention earlier 2 projects, and let's talk about the other project that we really brought us here to talk about today, and that's Emily or Oscar, the movie. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we're going to look at some behind-the-scenes footage of you actually working on the film.
So Emily or Oscar, it's a feature film rom-com movie musical that's a love letter to old Hollywood. And huge shout out to Barbara Rue and Mark Rue, who have been helping me get it seen the light of day and get distribution, because it's an indie film. Like, film distribution is a whole separate job from filmmaking. I'm a filmmaker. But it's sort of the way that I sort of had seen Hollywood growing up in it, and is sort of an homage to the past. So here behind me, you see Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and Charlie Chaplin.
Wow.
And they started Hollywood when they came out west.
United Artists,
baby. And it was all about artists being able to control their own narrative. And
Mary Pickford, ladies and gentlemen, Mary Pickford. Yes.
She's huge. So I had wanted to do this production with Mary Pickford for the past 10 years. And it was sort of sparked off with my friend and colleague, Maria Newman, was writing these scores to these old Mary Pickford films. I was working in some restoration of some of the Pickford work, as well as William Randolph Hearst early films. We were restoring them, and I saw the power in this old silent cinema. And so I had to make an homage to it. And all these scripts were pitched to me, and they were all sort of the same, with Mary Pickford coming from Toronto to New York as a teenager and getting a job on Broadway with David Belasco. And that story has been told. I didn't need to retell it. I needed to do something. So I brought Mary Pickford and Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks back as older versions of themselves, as muses into the modern day.
Wow.
So they're kind of as puppeteers pulling the strings of the young characters. Sam Feldman, who I portray, is the protagonist of the film, and Emily Arthur is the romantic lead of the film. And they are both drawn together and pushed apart. The conflict exists because of these older characters who are sort of pulling the marionette strings. Well, as we are in Hollywood and in the entertainment business, there's all these people trying to pull your strings.
Well, let's watch a little behind the scenes footage of you at work on this film. So here we are. We're just gonna.
Okay, stop right there. It's too far. Come in and do it. Go. And action. Again, you got to get all the way in before you say it. Action. So right now we're at the historic Warner Grand Theater in San Pedro, California, which is one of our filming locations for Emily or Oscar. And it's this gorgeous Art Deco era theater that has been completely restored and preserved. So right now we're shooting the makeup scene with Emily and her makeup artist, Mama Makeup, and they're at their makeup table and they're gossiping.
Okay, that's good.
So we did a safety on Cassera. It was a really nice take. Do you want to do a close-up on Kristen now? It's going really great. We're solving a lot of technical challenges right now. As always, they're up against the clock.
So no problem.
Moving forward.
All right. And if someone had known that, it would have been done already.
I understand. Thank you. So the theater was supposed to have the marquee changed to say Directors of Early Cinema, and they didn't get the memo, so we are getting the marquee changed now.
So what do we have going on in this next scene? Sunset?
So yeah, we have to catch the sunset right before it goes down in the outside of the theater marquee that says Directors of Early Cinema. And we have the old car, the 1929 Model A Ford pulling up, and Sam and Emily get out of it and go into their date.
How'd it go in there, guys?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
great. We love driving around in this car.
Took you back in time?
Took me back in time. It was an age before seatbelts.
So we're very fortunate to have on our set today Susan Blakely playing the role of Agent. She's a phenomenally talented, well-known actress, and she's really graced us with her presence.
1-2, take 4, marker.
Okay, let me
When you
just
say
make sure.
just get the script to the
Okay, and
director,
maybe you're right, maybe I don't.
it's just an option.
Okay, so let me put the right way.
We also have Stephen John Kalinich, the peace poet, who's written for the Beach Boys, and he's playing the role of the prophet. So he's going to be a fabulously wacky character that we're really excited to have. So
I see the one who has trouble finding words has no interest in mine, unless those words be inspired by the divine.
Well, no, I guess.
I don't even know my line. Go to emilyoscar.com and check us out. Thanks, guys.
All right, everything going okay?
And who do I have the privilege of talking with here?
Oh, hi, this is Bruce Allport. I'm an assistant to the producer.
How's it going today?
Things are going reasonably smoothly so far.
Very good. Well, I'll check in with you in a little bit.
Okay, I'm going to go pick up some talent, and I'll be back in an hour and a half.
That's always good. Pick up some talent.
Yeah, you bet.
All right.
All right, see you later.
Wow. This looks like so much fun. And how soon can we see it? I mean, you've been showing this in film festivals, am I correct?
Yeah, so we're on the film festival circuit right now. We just screened at Culver City Festival where Susan Blakely won for Best Supporting Actress, and then
What fun to see her again.
so much fun.
Her, so it's so good.
And then Santa Clarita International Film Festival, we screened and won Best Feature Comedy of the whole festival. And so we're on the festival circuit. The next screening is actually in at the old Greenbelt Theater in Greenbelt, Maryland, in February 26th. And that's one of the FDR New Deal cinemas that was built in 1940. So that's our next screening. There will be other screenings popping up, but for the next year and a half, we're going to be doing the festival circuit before it's available online. So
Now, do you have anything coming up in New York?
We're working on it, but we might need your help.
Well, reach out to me because I've got a few people that have some film festivals that I can put you in touch with.
Great. Yeah,
So-
that's the thing. We want this on big screens. It was shot in 35 millimeter, and I want it shown on the big screen in 35 millimeter before it's released, on streaming.
So what other projects are you working on right now?
So I have two really cool things happening right now. One, I have a creative partner who lives in Scandinavia, Fonsu and Jai. A big shout out to Fonsu.
Mhm.
He and I are developing a big streaming project called the Senya Chronicles. And it's about this NATO special ops team that gets involved in a battle in northern Norway. And I can't, say too much about it now because, we're in early development on it. But that's going to be coming out as a novel and as a streaming series. So that's a really cool thing that's coming up. And it's epic. I mean, we're dealing with like Scandinavian folklore and Vikings and World War II soldiers and, all sorts of cool stuff. The other thing that is immediately pressing is a documentary that I'm working on with the rock and roll journalist Harvey Kubernick. He has 21 books about rock and roll, including Voodoo Child, which just came out about Jimi Hendrix. And Harvey and I are doing a documentary about Gold Star Recording Studio in Hollywood, which from 1954 to 1984 was the indie joint where you could go and make a hit record if you weren't already on a label. Capitol was pretty highfalutin, Capitol Records, Frank Sinatra, and that kind of stuff. And at Gold Star, if you had $100, you could go in. So they started making records for people like Eddie Cochran, Summertime Blues, Richie Valens,
Mm.
All the Phil Spector records were made there. Sonny and Cher, Wrecking Crew stuff. That was all done at Gold Star. And after Sonny and Cher, you had like Dr. John, you had Iron Butterfly, all the Herb Alpert records before he built his own A&M studio. They were done at Gold.
Wow, that's just
The
amazing.
West Coast sound, that was Gold Star. They had echo chambers and developed the technological multi-channel recording techniques before there was even a lot of multi-track tape. They were able to use multi-channel into one channel to really capture this massive wall of sound kind of stuff.
Well, it sounds great. And before we wrap up, I always end my shows with my homage to Inside the Actors Studio. If you've ever watched it,
Yes,
James Easton ended his show with his questions. These are not his questions; these are my questions.
But you have the little cards, so
I have these little cards. So this is just for the fun of it, just to get a little more information on you, just for fun. And the first question is, in which year of your life did you change the most?
Wow. I think it would have been about 2014, after my mom's passing. I didn't realize how much just her presence had sort of opened the doors and paved the path for me to do what it is that I do. She was more than just my mom. She was a facilitator, a door opener, in a career partner. I mean, it was like she was like my manager. So after that, I really started having to become a little bit more aggressive or pugnacious in order to get done what I needed to get done.
Okay. Interesting. That's great. What is the best ritual of your daily life?
I turn inward a lot. I am an extroverted person, but I can't do that without having internal meditation time. And sometimes that meditation it's just actually building my model trains. And just focusing on that and disconnecting from it. It's creative and it's technical, but it doesn't require me interfacing with the outside world. And that sort of ritual of turning in, it really centers me and grounds me into who I am and who I need to be for the world.
Great. Do you do things now or later?
Right now.
I'm the same way. That's great.
When somebody says, "Oh, let's do this," I'm like, "Let's get it done." Well, you don't have to do it now. Yes, I do, because I'm busy and I won't have time to do it later. So let's just get it done and out of the way.
That's great. Who is the one person that you have learned the most from in your career?
It's really, really, really hard to pinpoint it on one person, because I've really taken in so much. But I would say my very first acting teacher, Madylin Clark, who was a former Radio City Rockette, gave me the tools, the technical performance tools, to be able to stand up and present myself in front of anybody. She's the one who gave those tools to me.
Well, thank you, Madylin.
And she's so cool. Like, she's such a cool lady.
That's great. What is the longest that you could spend on a desert island with your best friend alone before you would need to see other people?
I would probably adapt to that situation and find a way to sort of make it work, and not like that need, with COVID, my need for socializing, during that first year of, isolation, so to speak, I became very internal, and I didn't have this huge, I suppressed my need to reach out and be with other people. I suppressed that. I hibernated. So I think I would adapt. And I think that time, well, we actually essentially tried that. It was a year of 2020, March.
I think you're right. That's
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then finally I said, enough of this, stop. We have to find a way to move forward,
What is the wildest thing that you have ever done what is the wildest thing that you've ever done in public?
Wow. The wildest thing. Well, I don't know. Wow, you stumped me there. The wildest thing. I mean, I get up and I do these crazy shows, in front of people. I was in front of 65,000 people at Staples Center with singing backup for Barbara Streisand. And so like, to me, nothing, like, I'm not fazed by any of that. I have not gotten naked in front of people. So that on a huge stage, so that has not happened. Okay, I was in Pompeii with my friend Maria Hungerland, and we were touring, and I just decided, in one of those huge Roman arenas, decided to start impromptu singing. And I just started this concert impromptu. It was not scheduled or anything. And all of a sudden people started coming. And I thought I might get in trouble, but I didn't get in trouble, and everybody kind of liked it. So, but
I did the same thing in Athens.
Yeah, let's go do that in Athens. Let's go.
Yes. Oh my God. What conventional wisdom do you disagree with?
Conventional wisdom. That breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and that if you get up early, you can, you have more control over things. I find going to bed late is where I have much more control over things in the evening. But yeah, I don't agree that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Well, I think you and I are on the same page on that one. Who is the one entertainer that you wish that you could have seen on stage from the past?
Probably Charlie Chaplin. I remember being fascinated with impressions of him on Sesame Street when I was 2 and 3 years old. And there's something about those expressively sad eyes that, were so entertaining to everybody, yet I'm sure there was so much pain there too. And I really wish that I could have gotten to know him as a person. I like knowing people for who they are, as opposed to their characters are obvious. That's, everybody thinks they know somebody because they know their character. No, that's their character. I'm more interested in the human portraying that character. And for some entertainers, that's almost hard to separate. But I do want to know the person first, and then we'll understand how those characters develop.
And this is my last question for you. When have you listened to your heart? When have you listened to a hunch and it was right on in your career?
Well, Emily or Oscar was most certainly that. I had a hunch that I had to make this film. It started out to be a short film. I said, no, this has to be a feature. And people said, well, how are you going to do that, Chris? And I said, just watch. I have a hunch that I can make it happen. And I followed my gut, and I went through every single step of the way until it was finished. And now here we are on the silver screen.
That's wonderful. And I hope that you'll come back someday. Will you do that?
I would be most honored, Richard. I mean, it's a great honor for me to celebrate with you. And it's an honor. I'm humbled.
Well, thank you. Well, don't go anywhere for a moment. I want to thank everybody who has showed up today. I know that I can speak for Chris when I say this. Those of us who are in this business, anytime anyone takes the time to spend with us, whether it be at the movies or at a concert or even here for the last hour, we don't take it lightly. So thank you for showing up today. If this is your first time here, my hope is that it will not be your last. Right here on Richard Skipper Celebrates on YouTube, on my banner, there's a little button that says join in the celebration. If you click on that button, that will let you know anytime I'm going live with other artists. I've done over 350 of these, and hopefully there'll be 350 more. Check them out. And not only check them out here, but if you read about them, go and see their films, go and see them live whenever you have the opportunity to do so. If they're streaming on your TV set or on your computer, take the time to go and check them out. Really get to know them beyond this platform. Leave a comment here on YouTube and share this with your friends. And then I have one other thing that I'd like you all to do. I want you to go to your Facebook friends list, and the 9th name that pops up, I want you to reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, but a phone call. And let that person know what they mean to you. In the past week, I've lost 3 friends. And we never know when it's going to be the last phone call. I don't want to leave on a morbid note. I can say honestly, with all of those people and friends, that the last thing that I said to all of them was that I loved them. And I know that there's closure there. So take the time to call them, not with an email message or text message or a private message, a phone call. Thank you, Barbara, for making this happen. And my dear friend David Friedman always says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And I always say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. Now, Chris, I'm going to leave the screen and I'm going to give you the final word. Anything that you want to say about anything that we talked about today that you want to build upon, or anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to put out to anyone who's watching right now. I thank you for the gifts that you've given to the world and that you're going to continue to give. Happy holidays. I wish Emily or Oscar, the movie, a huge successful run for the rest of next year and beyond. And don't worry about how to end the show. As soon as you say goodbye, I will end the show just like in the movies. The end. So thank you so much. And I hope we do this again very, very soon. Happy holidays.
What a great pleasure to be on your show, Richard. And thank you to everybody out there who's watching. Please, for the holidays, look up Arise, Awake, O Christmas Day by me, Christopher M. Allport. It's on Apple Music, on Amazon Music, on Spotify, and anywhere else you get music. Leave a review if you like it. That's really helpful. Leave reviews and 5 stars and stuff. And to follow our journey with Emily or Oscar, go to emilyoroscar.com. And you can find us there and find out when screenings are programmed. And the most important thing that I want to leave you all with is to follow what's in your heart. As Richard was talking about that 5-year-old self, what did that 5-year-old want? What's in yourself individually? Those desires are actually really important for the collective community that we're all in. So I'll leave you with that and wish everybody a blessed holiday season. And that's all, folks.